Hi again, everybody. My name is Greg Anderson, and this is the Good Timekeeping Show with Greg Anderson. And today, I want to talk about G-Shock watches. Now, it's pretty near the end of the year 2024. We're right here at the last week of November. So most of the big events of 2024 have happened, even in the world of G-Shock watches. I looked at the shockbase.org website, and I highly recommend this. I've mentioned this before, but if you've never taken a look at the shockbase.org website, and you're at all interested in Casio and especially G-Shock watches, take a look at it. It's a great database. Basically, I don't know if it's absolutely 100% complete, but it looks like it is, going all the way back to the very first G-Shocks back in 1983 and showing all the models, all the different models that have been released over time, all the way up to today. So you can look up if you got an old watch and you want to see, what is the exact model? Were there any variations of that model? Are there any new versions of that same model? Go to shockbase.org and look them up. It's a great database. I won't go into all the details of how to navigate the website, but just search around. I'm sure it'll be enlightening if you've never done that before. Now, I looked at shockbase.org for the year 2024. All the watches that have been released or are yet to be released, all that have been announced for the year 2024, the G-Shock releases. And according to shockbase.org, there are 243 watches. Now, how many did I buy? Not that many, because I'll tell you right now, I get very excited about G-Shock watches that have essentially two features in particular. Tough solar, meaning that there's a solar cell built into the face of the watch to charge that watch and keep it charged so you don't have to change batteries. And maybe if you do, it'll be decades perhaps, if with proper maintenance of the battery using that solar cell built in, you're not going to have to change the battery on that watch for a long, long time. I don't know, because my oldest tough solar watch is still running since I bought it in the year 2006, okay? So that's what we're 18 and a half years by now, same battery, never had to open up that watch for any reason. So I would expect similar results from my other G-Shock watches. We'll see. So that's the one feature I really like. The other one is called Multiband 6 or Wave Ceptor technology. So if you're not familiar with that, I keep saying this all the time in my videos, but there is a radio receiver built into the watch, and in certain parts of the world, including right here where I am, that watch will automatically update itself to the exact correct time every night so that it stays perfectly synchronized to what I call atomic time from the atomic clock. Mine sets itself to the one in Colorado over there, about 350 miles away from here. So I get good reception where I am, and all these Multiband 6 watches work great to keep themselves perfectly synchronized. Multiband 6 refers to the technology that Casio has developed that utilizes the radio transmissions from 6 transmitters in different parts of the world. So right here, the one that we use here is WWVB, but there are 2 in Japan and 1 in China, and 1 in Germany and 1 in the UK. So any one of those 6, if you're within range, your watch will be set to the right time, or at least mine will. And so anyway, those 2 features I really like. Now, another thing I look for that makes me interested in a G-Shock watch, if it has those 2 features, is the price less than $200? And ideally, is the price less than $150? So if it's got those things going for it, I am interested in that watch. Another thing I do get a little picky about, although it's not necessarily a deal breaker, is the LCD on the watch. Is that display a positive LCD or a negative LCD? Positive meaning there are dark characters against a light background, or the reverse of that, the negative LCD, would be light characters against a dark background. And I find that the negative LCD or reverse LCD is more difficult for me to read at a glance. So even if it has tough solar, Multiband 6, and it's less than $150, if it's a negative display, I might have second thoughts about it. And when I first started really getting seriously into collecting these G-Shocks, it was probably about, I'm saying 7 years ago or so. At that time, I was particularly interested in watches that were less than $100. Now, with today's economic circumstances, maybe you're not going to find that. But if I see a watch that's less than $100 brand new, or if it's used, but it's a kind of a rare watch and I can't get it brand new, less than $100, with those other features I mentioned, I'm interested. So out of all these 243 watches, the G-Shocks that have come out this year, how many of them had all the things I'm looking for and ended up being watches now in my collection? Not that many. So I'm going to go back and just review. The month of January, there were 28 G-Shocks released, according to shockbase.org. Out of those, they put out a lot of variations of what people call the Casioak, the 2100 series models of watches. Casioaks, I've got a couple of them. I'm fine with them, but I'm not as excited as a lot of other people are on the Casioaks. These are the watches that have, they call them Casioaks because they're made by Casio, but they have kind of that royal oak shape with the kind of the octagon shape of the case and the face. And so, people like them. People like the royal oaks, and they're very expensive watches, and a Casioak is something more affordable, and you might enjoy that. To me, they're just not as exciting as some of the other watches. Also, although there are some Casioak watches that have tough solar, and they use Bluetooth to synchronize to the correct time, there aren't very many, just a very rare few expensive ones that also have multiband 6. So I'm not huge into the Casioaks, but if you are, that's great. But anyway, so the month of January, I wasn't interested in those Casioaks. They also put out a GW6900, which was a tie-in to Suzuki, and that was limited edition and probably only available in Japan, and so I didn't get that one. Then there was I call it Mr. G, but an MRG B5000R. This was a variation on the G-Shock Square, and it had all these things that I like, the tough solar and the multiband 6 and the Bluetooth, and a great looking watch. It was, depending on where you bought it, somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000. And I'm sorry, I'm just not able to do that right now. So month of January, I didn't buy any of those watches. February, they came out with their fire package watches, and I've had many of those before, the AWG M100 and the GW2300 series. And I did buy eventually, not right away, but eventually later in the year, I got the GW2320 fire package for the year 2024. So that had the things I was looking for. The price was okay. I bought that. I didn't buy the other one. And then they came out with a GW9500 TLC. This was kind of a tied-in collaboration, and it was between $325 and $440 if I go looking for it right now. So a little still out of my price range. I have a different 9500 series watch. So that was February. Out of 23 watches, I bought one. March, there were only 12 new watches in March. Some Casioaks, some Squares, some 6900 series models that were not multiband 6, and so I didn't buy any of those. Month of April, they had 26 new watches, and the only one that caught my eye a little bit was the GMW B5000D-2, an interesting variation of a watch that I already have, but it was $550, and so I didn't get that one. I'm sorry. May, there were 24 watches, again, some Casioaks and some Squares, and then there was the MTG B3000DN. Depending on where you go looking for it today, it's either about $1,250 or up. So that was not on my to-do list there. Then, in June, they came out with 14 watches. There was the GMW B5000 SS-2, limited edition, $700 and up, and it's already out of stock. I didn't get that one. Then there's some new versions, new editions, collaboration, the Love, the Sea, and the Earth watches. The GMD W5601K, that's kind of a smaller G-Shock Square. It has multiband 6. It has the tough solar, about $180 and up. It's a little bit small. I didn't get that one. Then there was the GW6904K, $220 and up. So a little bit out of my range for being, a must check out. And then there was the GW8201K that did not have atomic timekeeping and kind of expensive. So I passed on all of those for June. Halfway through the year, I only bought one so far. In July, there were 23 new G-Shocks. And among them was the GW6900 NASA edition, and I did buy that one. But it was more than $150, if I recall correctly. I can't remember now. But the price was a little bit more than I like, but I got it anyway. Just figured limited edition, it's not going to be around for long. And as it turns out, as I'm recording this today, I think you can still buy them. So they didn't sell out. They're not that much different from the GW6900 that's not a NASA collaboration kind of a look to it, or NASA tribute watch, I should say. Anyway, they had that. That's the only one out of July, out of the 23 that I actually bought. August, there were 24 new G-Shocks. There was the GWG B1000 EC, about $800. Again, I didn't bite on that one. More Casioaks. The GW9500 MEC, about $400, maybe as low as $360 if you look around. I didn't get that one. In September, there were 14 new G-Shocks, and I just didn't get any of those. There were none that had atomic timekeeping built in, so I don't know. Okay, October, 34 new G-Shocks. There was the GMW B5000D3, again, a variation of a watch I already had. It's kind of a good looking watch, maybe, but it was about $480 and up, depending on where you buy, so I didn't do that. Then they had some analog watches, they had some more Casioaks and some more squares, but again, not a lot of Multiband 6 within that. And then so far, November, Casioaks, squares. There is a GW 9501 KJ-8, but again, it's about $445, maybe up to $700, maybe more. So what's my count here? I only got two. Is that true? Out of the ones that were released in 2024. I did get some watches that had been released in previous years, but it's been kind of a slow year for me as far as getting interested in some new Casio G-Shock watches. I'm a little bothered by the fact that there are so many limited edition versions and so many, you know, Mr. G versions, or these super expensive versions. And some of the ones I mentioned even are not typically available here in the United States. I would have to get them from a Japanese source, which isn't that bad. I can usually get that through eBay without a lot of trouble. But the point being, 2024, a bit of a disappointment. And I don't want it to stay that way. I don't know what the economic situation is in Japan, or for the Casio company in particular. I'd like to think that they will still cater to guys like me, who would like a watch with some premium features that's still under $200 or under $150. Just because it's a new G-Shock Square doesn't mean I'm automatically going to be interested, especially when they cost many hundreds of dollars. I mean, again, am I going to get some G-Shock, and they're out there, you know, the Mr. G edition that's like, you know, over $3,000 for one watch. I don't foresee me doing that at any point. I just don't. So, that said, I do have some more ideas about some Casios, maybe some really very inexpensive Casios I'm interested in, and I'm always still on the lookout for the ones that are under $150, maybe under $200, that have the tough solar and the Multiband 6, and I'll still be thinking about those, but I obviously have a very large watch collection already, so we'll just see. I'm not putting the brakes entirely on my Casio purchases, but as long as they keep putting them out there for above $500, I'm going to just step back from those. And that's all I really have to say for today. I've got more episodes coming up about timekeeping and maybe some other subjects as well, so I hope you will stay with me. You know, I just had a thought that I normally don't have when I'm recording. Would you be interested in subscribing to this channel? I don't know. You don't have to, just a thought. But in the meantime, I'm still going to be making videos whether you're subscribed or not. And I do hope to see you again right here on the Good Timekeeping Show.